Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan. I am the director of NewForce, and this is our first ever info session, at least our first ever virtual info session. And I'm so excited that y'all are here with us. So we have a little presentation for you today, and we also have some alumni here to talk to you, and we'll introduce them in just a minute. And then we also have our two members of the instruction team here to chat with us as well. So we'll do introductions in just a second, but we've got probably a 20-minute presentation, and then we will save the bulk of the time for Q&A. So if you have questions, hold on to them for just a second. We might get to them in our presentation, and if we don't, you'll have a chance to ask them at the end, either by putting them in the chat or just yelling them out. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Just a minute. Having some slight technical difficulties. Olivia, are you still on the call?
Yes.
Oh wait, I think I've got it. Never mind. I was having some trouble with the Canvas slide deck, but we're good. Oh my gosh, I use Zoom every day. And then, okay. Can you see my screen? Yes. I apologize. Thank you for sticking with me. Okay, so we're NewForce. We're a program of Generation West Virginia. And if you're here, you might know some stuff about us. You might know absolutely nothing about us. So for those of you who are coming in fresh, we are a 6-month full-time training program. We train software developers. So we'll take folks with no coding experience, maybe a little bit of coding experience, and we'll teach you how to code and hopefully qualify you for entry-level software developer jobs at the end of the 6-month training period. We are tuition free, and we do have need-based living stipends that we'll get into a lot more throughout this conversation. And we really our whole focus is in placing people in jobs. So we do a lot of career prep, resume writing support, and interview support, and as well as connections to employers, both in West Virginia and beyond West Virginia. So I've already introduced myself. I'm Jordan. I'm the director of NewForce. I moved to West Virginia in 2018 to help found NewForce. Before that, I taught at a program called Nashville Software School, which is what NewForce is kind of based off of. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I love West Virginia with all my heart. And then I'm going to let Tommy and Sarah introduce themselves real quick, because they'll be talking to you some too. And then we'll have our alumni introduce themselves as well, just so when you see the little talking heads on the screen, you know who we are. So Tommy, Sarah, y'all want to give quick little introductions?
Sure thing. Thank you, Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Spurlock. I am the current lead instructor of NewForce. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia. Been here, born and raised, Mountaineer alum. And yeah, I was in cohort 1 of NewForce. So I've been a junior instructor and a lead instructor ever since. So I've seen every iteration of NewForce.
And then I am Sarah Brooks. I am the junior instructor with NewForce. I went through the program with Pat, one of our NewForce alumni for C3. And then I was so happily to be invited back to be the C5 and C6 and C7 junior instructor.
Cool. Hey, Pat, do you mind just introducing yourself real quick and telling us kind of what you did before NewForce and where you work now?
Yeah, I'm Pat Shaver. Like Sarah said, I'm an alumnus of cohort 3. And yeah, before NewForce, I was working in technical support, which I'd done for a very long time, but I'd always wanted to be a programmer. So when I saw the opportunity, I applied and got in. I work for Core 10 now, out of Huntington, but I live in Charleston. So they're fully remote. So.
Cool. Thanks, Pat. Ryan might have been running a little late. Is Ryan on the call? All right, we're skipping Ryan and coming back to him. Amanda, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Amanda. I was in cohort 5, which we graduated a little over 6 months ago, I think, which is kind of crazy. I'm a native of West Virginia and lived here most of my life. Currently, I'm in Moundsville, West Virginia, which is in the northern part of the state, just the bottom of the panhandle. I currently work at Constellation Digital Partners. They're a company out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they actually have a few other people from different cohorts that work there. My job is a UX UI designer, and previously, before I did NewForce, I actually was a graphic designer, and I had a little bit of coding experience, but not in the in-depth of what NewForce does. So it was pretty interesting just to kind of go a little bit further and kind of understand the background of software. And that's really helped me in my job role now so that I know what I'm designing for and can work with all the developer teams that we have.
Cool. Thanks, Amanda. If Ryan gets here, I will force him to introduce himself as well. So that's who we are. And I want to just kind of go over like the statistics that we're looking at with NewForce before we get into kind of the nitty gritty. Like I said, we are a job training program, so we're mainly focused on placement rate. And right now, about 86% of our graduates in each cohort do find jobs in software development within 6 months of graduation. And that tends to like go up a little bit or down a little bit depending on COVID, honestly, and how the economy is doing. So you'll see a little variation in that, but we've about held steady with that. Our average starting salary for graduates is right around $48,000. So that has also crept up over the years. It was actually, this is our average salary over all of the cohorts. So for our last cohort, that average was more like 51. But if we kind of take all of the averages together, we're on cohort 6 right now, we get high 40s. And most of our graduates, by and large, at this point, are placed in either remote jobs or flexible work from home option jobs. So that's right around 97 to 100% of folks are working remotely. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I'm going to let Tommy and Sarah talk to you about what it's like to be in the classroom, because it is a unique classroom experience. So I'm going to pass it to our instruction team to talk about.
So we are 100% remote. We are on Zoom from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. We have lunch between 12 and 1. Sorry. We have different ways that we do things. So we live code in a big room like this sometimes. Sometimes we do small reviews in little breakout rooms. Sometimes you do your own work by yourself in a breakout room. A lot of the times you're doing teamwork. We will have 3 full instructors, Tommy, myself, and someone to be decided. One of the biggest things that we do, though, is our Zoom environment is really reminiscent of what we try to imitate of a workplace environment. So we have a lot of different things that we do, like GitHub and a few other things that we do that make our program really unique, along with coaching on careers. So it's a lot of looking at the screen. It's a lot of being kind of isolated, but it's also a whole lot of fun.
Tommy.
Absolutely. And like Sarah said, 9 to 4 on Zoom is a long time. And during that, we'll be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So we split our curriculum into 2 halves. We have the first half, which focuses on the client side, or what you see on the website, and the back half, the server side, and that's where the data goes. So in the front half, we'll be primarily focusing on JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and we'll make our first capstone in React. A capstone is just your personal project for your portfolio that you can show to employers once it's done. In the server side, or the second half, we'll be working with C#.NET, we'll be working with SQL Server, ADO.NET, ASP.NET, and we'll actually connect that to a React front-end project. So we will see things start to finish, full stack. And we're going to do that over the course of 6 months. And of course, if you're not familiar with any of those words I said just now, that's perfectly fine, because I started from zero and you'll be just fine. Most of our students have zero background when they start, and they're able to get a career as a junior developer when they're finished. So.
Cool. Thanks, Tommy. Okay, so that's kind of the technical curriculum. And then we want to get you ready to do the job, and we also want to get you ready to actually get the job. So some of the career prep stuff that you'll see us do is we do take your professional headshot on picture day. That's part of the NewForce program. We help you a lot with resume writing and resume formatting, because some of that is really specific to tech. So even if you have a good resume, you're going to have to make a new one to be a developer. We do cover letter prep. We do a lot of interview prep. We put you through a whole mock job application process. That's what our current cohort is going through right now. And then even after you graduate, so after the 6 months are done, we do our very best to keep following up with you, keep connecting you to jobs, and keep getting on calls with you as needed for interview prep and general emotional support throughout the job search. So this is a lot of people's questions, is like, so I go through this training and then what next? What happens? We have a network of about 30 employers, most of them in West Virginia, but not all of them. Like Amanda said, she's connected to an employer, or she's working for an employer that we connected her to outside of West Virginia. So around 30 have hired our grads. We work closely with a lot of West Virginia tech companies to get feedback on our curriculum. So we basically say, hey, what are you using? What should we be teaching? And then we revise our curriculum accordingly. And then when the time comes and they have an open role, they send them to us and we distribute them to our grads who are looking for jobs. So like I said, even after you graduate, you still get access to us indefinitely. Like we'll still help you with interview prep and help you tailor your resume and help you negotiate an offer for as long as you want us. And one just like word of caution that I want to throw out there for those of you who are seriously considering the program, we have these good placement outcomes, and I'm so proud to share those with you. And the job search can be really slow. Like it's not an immediate, you graduate and then you immediately get a job. For some people it is, but for a lot of people, it just takes time because you're transferring careers. So we tell folks to kind of plan on anywhere from 1 month to 6 months for the job search. And that 6 month time frame is really what we saw like during deep COVID. So I don't expect to see that long anytime soon unless something changes. But I just want to be realistic with y'all for that. Like we do see employers hiring, but they're not always hiring all at the same time. And it can really just depend on the time of year and how the economy is doing for how long that job search can take. Okay, so I'm so excited that for cohort 7, we get to introduce living stipends. We've gotten a lot of feedback from folks like you who are interested in the program, but it is a full-time program and it is hard to work a normal job during the program because our hours are from 9 to 4. So folks have been contacting us saying, hey, I really want to do the program, but I can't afford to quit my job and I can't afford to lose my insurance. What do I do? And this is a partial answer. I know this is not a totally perfect answer, but it's something. We recently got a grant from the Department of Labor to offer need-based living stipends on kind of a case-by-case basis because we have to comply to the Department of Labor's like qualifications for need-based. So I will talk more about that, but it's kind of, they're giving us these standards and we can help figure out if you meet those standards. And if you do, we can give you an $11 an hour living stipend for 35 hours a week during the program, during the 6 months of the program. So It will be case by case to figure out if you qualify, but we do have some indicators. So if you were recently laid off or terminated from a job, you are eligible. If you're employed part-time or you're unemployed, you are eligible. If you're employed full-time, but you make less than what is calculated to be the living wage in West Virginia, which is a little over $15 hourly or around $30,000 annually. Oh, I forgot to link the calculator. There's a calculator we can use to determine it. You would be eligible. And if you're entering the workforce for the first time, either a recent graduate, or if you've been like staying at home with kids and you're kind of coming back to the workplace after a while, you would be eligible for that. So the eligibility requirements are a little bit complicated. And what we will do is, if you think you might qualify, or if you're interested in NewForce regardless, please just apply, and we'll drop the link for the application in just a second. And in the interview process, we will just have a conversation with you one-on-one and help you figure out if we can make this work. Cool. And obviously we would love to have you, even if you're not eligible for the stipend, you're still welcome to apply and come through NewForce. We'll definitely have people in the cohort who don't quite meet these requirements, and we can still take them as students. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention before we talk about how to apply. If you are here and you have never tried coding before, that's totally fine. You don't have to have had any coding experience before you apply to NewForce, but it is helpful to know if you like coding before you at least interview for NewForce, because that's one thing that we like to know. We really don't want to put you in a career that is going to make you miserable. So if you try it a little bit and you like it, that's a pretty good indicator to us that this is going to be a field that you can really thrive and grow in, which is what we want. So we have a course for that. It's called Try Coding, and Sarah is going to drop the link to Try Coding in the chat. I think some of you have already signed up. I think I saw some overlap. So if you've already signed up, yay. It is basically a guided tutorial with videos. You will get to meet my cat, and we walk you through building a little application that's like a calculator. It's just a way to give it a little try to see if it's something you maybe want to do all day. And if you do want to do it all day, you should apply to NewForce. Da, da, da. Okay, so if you've heard all this and you're like, heck yeah, sounds good, what do I do next? Sarah's going to drop an application in the chat, and we will also send you an email follow-up if you signed up for this through Eventbrite. And we will send the application link in that as well. Please fill out the application thoroughly. The more we know about you, the more likely we are to be able to bring you back for an interview. We're really looking for people who are good on a team, people who are good at problem solving, and that doesn't have to be technical problem solving. So like if you're good at puzzles, or you really like fixing cars, or you're really creative at helping your friends solve their love life problems, that's all problem solving, and we love all of that. So put that in your application. If you like teaching yourself new things, and that could be like, I don't know, I watched a YouTube video to learn how to change the oil in my car. We want to know that. And most importantly, we want to know that you're motivated to start a new career, because starting a new career is tricky and hard and kind of scary. So it's important to us that you are motivated to do that, and that feels worth the kind of tough parts to you. Any background is welcome. We have trained teachers, we've trained retail workers, we've trained people with master's degrees, we've trained people without high school degrees. So really, that's not an issue for us. And once again, totally okay if you don't have any exposure to tech. We will take you from square one. So you will get an email that will have a little PDF that Olivia made that's beautiful, with pretty much everything we talked about, including some of the details about the living stipend. You will get a link to the Try Coding course. If you want to give it a shot, you're welcome to, you don't have to. And you will get a link to our application if you would like to fill it out. We would love to read it. Oh, I was gonna put a good GIF on this page and I totally forgot. Dang. Okay. Well,
We'll get them next time for sure.
Yeah. You'll get a GIF next time. Okay, so we can now take questions, and I'm gonna add some pins. Can you guys see the pins if I add them? No? You can't see Tommy pinned?
I see Tommy.
How do we get it so that all of the alumni and instructors are centered? It doesn't matter. All right, doesn't matter. Okay, so if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat. You can raise your hand, which if you click at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little smiley face that says reactions. And if you click on reactions, one of them is, it's at the bottom, it says raise hand. Or you can throw them in the chat. Okay, so we've got a couple in the chat. Is there a class for night courses? Chris, there is sadly not yet. That is something that we've definitely talked about and we just haven't quite worked up the resources to do. So right now our only option is a day course from 9 to 4, which is kind of why we introduced the living stipends to hopefully make that a little easier for folks. I applied for the program. What is the first step after enrollment? Yep. So once you apply, your application goes into our pool. We'll read all the applications and we will bring folks back for interviews. So you'll probably be hearing from us in December or January. How many students generally get accepted? We typically accept around 15 to 20 students, and that is based on employer demand. So we can kind of project based on how the last cohort's placement went and how our conversations with employers have been going, how many jobs we think there are in our network, and that's how many students we size the class at, because we don't want to be graduating more people than we think there are jobs. All right, we've got one of, should I redo my application? I'm going to throw this one to Tommy just so I can not be talking at you guys for all this time. Tommy, I'm looking at the Chase Pittman question. Someone applied and then they did try coding and now they're wondering if they should reapply. What do you think?
There would be no need to redo your application. There's absolutely no penalties for having no prior experience or not doing the application. However, if you get an interview, I would highly recommend that you do try coding so that way we can talk about it.
Yep. Okay, let's throw this one to Sarah. Sarah, we've got a question from Marquise. What happens if an emergency happens and they need to miss a day?
We will gladly put you as a human being first, way before we would ever put the program first. So as long as you're not chronically missing or chronically not showing up, we can make do. We are happy to make do.
Yep. It is February 13th for the start date for the upcoming program. And yes, you do need to be a West Virginia resident. And you actually need to be a West Virginia resident to be eligible for the program at all. And that's because we're funded in part by the community colleges of West Virginia. And that's a requirement from them. So sadly, yes, only West Virginians, but there are lots of other great programs out there if you're not in West Virginia. Wow.
And you could always move here too.
You could always move here. There we go. There we go. Nice. Good, good, good. Okay, what
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking for the raise hand, but I could not find it. Hello, everyone. I'm Gloria. So happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for hosting this. My question is, I think I read somewhere that there's no grades in the program. So I'm curious about how do I know, and do you know that I'm progressing well through the program?
Tommy.
It is true. There are no grades in NewForce. We also don't do homework in NewForce. We work on a basis of, we work as hard as we need to work in order to acquire information. And if you can do that between the hours of 9 and 4, gladly live the rest of your life after 4 o'clock. And if you need to put more time in to gain the skills, then it's highly recommended that you put as much time in as you can to not overload yourself or overload yourself. So we definitely believe in capacity, right? We only have so much capacity, and we do not want to overwork anyone or have anyone experience burnout. But there's two checkpoints in NewForce. Checkpoint number 1 is your first capstone. That's the first project you build. And those capstone projects are pass fail. But by the time we get to the project, you would have had so much time with the curriculum, with your instruction team, with your peers, that you would know if you were going to make it or not. Second, those capstones, other than a few requirements, are the level of difficulty is decided by you, as well as your instruction team. So we also have an open door policy. So anytime you have a question or you want to talk about your progress or you're having something that's troubling you, we're here to talk about it and make sure you are getting the attention that you need, the attention you deserve, and feel good about it, because I'm gonna be frank, NewForce is difficult, right? The first day of class, we walked in and Jordan had a picture of a fire hose that people were trying to drink out of. And that's what it feels like. It's a lot of information in a little bit of time. So you will feel like you're not getting it, but you probably are.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a question there about email confirmations. It's okay if you didn't get an email confirmation. It might have gone to spam or it might not have sent, but I just checked real quick and we did get yours. So don't worry about that. And then Sheena, I see one of your students from a prior cohort suggested I put him down as a reference. Yeah, so if you know a person who's been through NewForce or a member of our staff, there's not like a specific question about it, but there's a question at the end that's like, what's the question at the end? It's like, is there anything else you'd like to tell us? Just throw it in there. We do like to know that just because it means that you know something about the program and want to do it still. So I always appreciate knowing when you are hearing about us through an alumni. Yeah.
David, to answer your question, and unless it's going to be something that we cover in class, I don't know what college experience you would be applying to us, unless it's just like something about the programming that you've already know. But there's still a lot that you can learn from us. Hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, I think probably not, sadly, since we're not like a accredited course. It's more of a workforce development training program. I'd like us all just to take a moment to meet Pat's dog, please. One thing that happens in the course is that if a pet appears on the screen, you have to say hello to the pet. Pat, let us see her. Yes, there she is.
And all of her beautiful glory.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Pat, unmute, tell us her name.
Well, her real name is Charlotte,
And she's
but
perfect.
she doesn't really answer to that. She answers to the Wiener dog, Princess Shithead.
She's perfect, Pat.
Pinball. Now she's got this halo. She went blind, so now that she got the halo, she bounces around. So we call her Pinball a lot now. So.
I would die for her.
Pat, thank you so much.
I can give her to you. I mean,
Yeah,
send her to you.
bring her on.
Good price.
All right, we've got what form of residency is required, anything. If you have a utility bill, you're good. We just have to have some way to document that you live in West Virginia. Yep.
Chase, you were for sure in there. I just checked.
I think you're all in there. I think it just doesn't send email. We're using a new application software this time, so
Yeah, I think that
yeah,
that's probably definitely on us.
Yes, Gabrielle, you are in there. Don't worry. Do employment history and education play a factor in acceptance? I did not realize the program was capped out at 20-ish. Yeah, so let's see. Yes and no. I would say no, employment history and education really aren't the things. The things we look for are, do you have some experience working on teams? Can you work on a team? Do you have some experience solving problems? Do you like solving problems? Do you have some experience teaching yourself? Do you like teaching yourself? So if you can represent those things to us somehow in your application and your interview process, that's really what we're looking for, more than a specific background or a specific like degree requirement. Are payments by check or direct deposit? I believe we're going to do direct deposit, but this is the first time we're offering the living stipends. So I wouldn't bet my life on that.
I have a question for the graduates of the cohorts, the different cohorts. I'm just really curious and interested about what your journey was like throughout the program, as well as transitioning from graduating and entering the workforce. What were the surprises, challenges, etc.?
Yeah. Amanda, do you want to start us off on that one?
Sure. So let's see, some of the challenges. I mean, during the course, you're fed so much information. Like Tommy said, just like drinking from a fire hose. And that's probably part of the reason why you don't get homework, is because you're like inundated with so much during that time frame every day. So that was a bit of a challenge to kind of absorb some of that information in such, a rapid fire way. But the thing about that was, one day you might think like, why am I doing this? This is too much information. And then like at the end of the week, you're like, wow, I really came, a long way, and you kind of measured yourself that way. So that was kind of twofold. Where it was challenging, but also a bit surprising once you made it, several weeks in, and then especially you get to your first huge project that you're doing solo. You can see how far you come. And I don't know if anyone mentioned that along the way, you're actually sectioned off into groups, and you do group projects and stuff, like small projects, when you're learning some of this stuff. So it, definitely a team environment. And some of that surprise was like how well you could get along with people and work through the problem. And it wasn't always just like working through it by doing code. You actually, talk to each other. One of the things some of the teams I was on would do is somebody would actually do the code, and everybody would kind of talk through it. So we had somebody who was actually typing on the screen. So that was an interesting way to learn. And yeah, I think it was beneficial overall. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
Pat, is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, I sort of forgot what the question was, but
what were some of the challenges, surprises you faced within the program, and also as you transitioned into the work field?
Well, the transition, because of the way NewForce is set up, and I've even had managers that my managers told me this the other day, that they really like the relationship they have with NewForce, because he would rather hire a person from NewForce because it's structured so much like a day-to-day, like the way that I work for a software developer. So the way that they, my normal day wasn't much different than when I was at NewForce. You have a stand up, which is you tell what you're working on and what progress you've made on it, and it's structured just like a company would be. So that makes it a lot different. He said he'd rather hire somebody from NewForce than somebody that just graduated with a 4-year degree in computer science, which is what he did. So he said, you're just better prepared. So, but during my challenges were mainly put on myself, by myself. You know, it's like you want to do everything perfectly, and you have to learn that, you know, nobody does everything perfectly, and you have to learn how to do it correctly. And if you're willing to do that and you know, take constructive criticism from your teammates, you know, somebody on the team will know a lot more about something than you do, or got it before you did. You know, it's a really great program. It's you know, I just can't say enough about it.
Thanks, Pat. And thanks, Gloria. That was a wonderful question.
Thank you both for answering it so in-depthly.
Yeah. I see in the chat a really good question from Molly about have those who have gone through the program had in real life opportunities to meet, interact with their class and teammates. And I can give a very like straightforward answer to that, which is we do have at least one in-person day, which is headshot photo taking day, picture day, where we all get together in person and like go out to lunch and hang out and get our headshots taken. But I'm curious also to bounce that one to the alumni, because I think there's kind of an underlying question there about like, okay, this program is remote. Like, what does that mean for your relationships and for the community that you build? So Amanda or Pat, would you be willing to talk about like how it felt to be remote, and did you miss in-person interaction? Like, yeah, what was the remote stuff like?
Oh, we had one day in person.
Yep.
And then the world shut down. And so, you know, I got to meet everybody originally, and then we went to Zoom and never, you know, came back together in a classroom atmosphere again. But that being said, I still hang out with, you know, some of the people from my cohort. And there are people that work at Core 10 from my cohort, and other people from NewForce from other cohorts. And we all have this connection. And we'll meet sometimes, we'll, you know, meet somewhere in Huntington and have, you know, dinner or drinks. And, you know, it's, haven't lost contact with many of them. So.
Yeah, Amanda, anything you would add to that?
Sure. My cohort, there's several of them that get together. Most of the individuals that were in my class happen to be from the southern part of the state, so I know they get together a little more often. I don't really get to see them because I'm a little further away from them. But we do stay in touch through the Slack channel. We'll message each other, and usually about once a month, several of us will get together on a Zoom call just to check in, see how everything's going. You know, do they like their job? You know, what they don't like about their job. You know, if some of them were still looking for jobs at the time, you know, if we heard something, we kind of, you know, pass it along the grapevine. But we, you know, kind of stayed in touch that way, and we still do here 6 months later, have a chat line going. I don't know what else I need to add to
No, that
that.
was good. That was good. I think like I think the upshot there is like, it is remote and we all wish we were back in person, but you get to be friends with people from all over the state, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it's beneficial. You know, if this program was in person and was only out of Huntington, I would have missed out on it because, you know, I'm too far away. But because it was all basically online, you know, that opened up, you know, an opportunity I wouldn't have had it in any other capacity. So I love NewForce for that.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Picture Day is in Huntington. We got a question about where is Picture Day. We got a question of some software developers who have government projects and Department of Defense stuff. Yeah, so we have some graduates go into kind of government contracting jobs. Most of our graduates go into more kind of private sector stuff because a lot of the government jobs require security clearances and our people don't have security clearances going in, or they have like pretty strict like federal degree requirements that obviously we don't have. So we have some people, a lot of our graduates go to IBM, and I know they work on a lot of federal projects. That might be one of the places you've heard about, but a lot of the stuff like in Fairmont, we have not quite gotten in with because of the security clearance conundrum. Oh, I love the Kiki question about what if you have crummy internet? Oh boy, we actually have a whole arm of Generation West Virginia that is working on broadband infrastructure in the state. So we know this is an issue. And I get that. So if you don't have a stable internet connection, we probably will find you a place that does have a stable internet connection. Like we'll try to either see if you can work at a library, and like we can handle the logistics for that. So we can reach out to the library for you or try to find you a co-working space. We have some relationships with co-working spaces around the state. So you should apply anyways, even if you have crummy internet, and we will do our absolute darndest to find you a place to work that has slightly less crummy internet, because you do need to be able to get on a Zoom call every day. Let's see. We've got David asking, is it phone apps? It's mostly web applications. And we've got some questions about how many applicants do we get and how many get selected to interview. Oh, let's see. I think we usually get 80 to 100 applicants, and we usually interview 40 to 50. Do you think, Tommy? Does that sound right?
That's right.
Yeah. So we do interview around half, and it may be a lot harder this time. I don't know. I think this is the first time we've done living stipends. Olivia has done such an incredible job on outreach. So typically we interview almost everyone who like gives us real like answers that we can chew on in the application. Frankly, like if you're giving us information about you, we will probably bring you in for an interview. If I don't know what we'll do if we get like a ton of really good applications and we have to be really selective. We're growing and we're not totally solid on what that's going to look like for us. So I really want to talk to everybody and interview everybody, and I wish we had infinite spots, and I would be so worried about graduating that many people and then like not being able to connect them to jobs. So it's always a balancing act, and I appreciate you asking that question, and I appreciate you bearing with us as we kind of deal with the slight growing pains of being a relatively new program and wanting to, do right by everybody.
And if you don't make it in the first time, you can always try again.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes, we have a lot of really great folks who did get in the second or third time. Let's see. Picture day will be in the spring. Let's see, we've got a question about the co-working opportunities. Molly, can you elaborate on that question a little bit? You don't mind?
Hi, sorry. I'm not familiar with the co-working
Got it.
opportunity or like what that is.
Okay.
Really.
Okay. So that, like a co-working space, that's a good question. A co-working space is like an office space that's built for people who kind of work remotely. So like there's one in Huntington. I know we have some office space, I think in Logan County now. And I'm sure there are others across the state. So it would be kind of like a library, like it would be like a place where you would have a little desk. But we would figure that out with you on like a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if you had established desks and places already figured out, or if it's okay, but it's case by case, so I got you.
It's like we would call people for you.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep. All right, we've got some tips on internet. Helpful. Yes. When do we find out? when do we find out? When does the interview process start? So we will be doing interviews throughout January, because we are not gonna, basically admissions close and then it's the holidays and we know better than to try to schedule people around the holidays. So we are gonna do all of our interviews in January. So you will hear from us in December or January. And I should also mention there's been quite a few questions about picture day. We do reimburse mileage for picture day. So if you're living far away from Huntington and you're worried about that, we will pay for mileage and we'll get you there. Ooh, you guys had good questions. All of the interviews are digital, so you will be on a Zoom call. Caleb, hi.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. I got a quick question, actually. I started thinking about this. I know that, or I see on the slides that what we'll be learning is kind of limited. However, if we decide to take upon ourselves to learn something like Ruby or Python, could we incorporate that at all by the end of the course? Like for our resumes or anything we're setting up, or does it have to be something through you specifically?
Yeah, Tommy, do you want to take that one, or Sarah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Caleb, if you have the capacity to learn more on top of everything we're throwing at you, please, by all means, go for it, right? Our job is literally to support you in your quest for a career. So we're going to give you everything we've got. And if you've got more to put on top of that, I think that just makes you a better candidate.
The other thing that I would say to that, Caleb, though, is like, I'm not familiar with Python, so I'm not going to be any help. So that's going to have to be on you. I can help you with what we go through, but I can't help you with like your own adventure you might go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask the question, because if we kind of taught ourselves that, because that's pretty much what this is going to, what coding is anyways, you got to learn stuff yourself. I wanted to ask if that would count, really, I guess, if we kind of went through our own process of learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It won't necessarily count for what we do on our daily, but the more you know.
Yeah. Caleb, that's a good question. And I think like employers love to see it as long as you're enjoying it and not burning yourself out. Like we're all for it. Oh, I love this question from Haley. And I want to point this one to the alumni. Haley wants to know what work-life balance usually looks like in this field. Pat, Amanda, let's talk about it. What do we think?
Well, speaking from, working at Core 10, they really, they stress that. They want you to have a good work-life balance. So, and working from home makes it a lot easier too, because I can go throw in a load of laundry and, and then come back up here and work more and take my dog out whenever she needs to go out. So it's really great. It's the best thing I've had in my career. So I think it depends on who you work for, I guess. And, and during the interview process, that's one of the things that you need to interview them about,
Oh, our most valuable employee is here.
Yeah, this is Edgar. I promise he's more distracting if I don't pick him up.
It's true.
Amanda, do you want to add anything about work-life balance?
I think I agree a lot with what Pat said. Like, I have a remote job. I think a good bit of the companies that probably partner with NewForce have remote jobs, or at least some type of hybrid. If I remember through some of the interview processes, and even when they came and visited our cohort to kind of talk about themselves. And a lot of companies do have a built-in work-life balance because they understand that some of the stuff is difficult. And you need that time away. And it really does depend on what company you're with. Some of the companies that I looked into and even interviewed with had different levels. Whether that was unlimited PTO, flexible work hours, type of thing. And if you had an emergency come up and they didn't have a problem with that. It just depends on what kind of company you work for. And like Pat said, it's something that you can interview them on. What does that side of thing kind of look like for you?
Yeah, totally. Great answers, and definitely, like they said, varies from employer to employer, and something that we'll talk to you about how to suss out for each employer. Yes, we've got a question from Max about computer requirements. We oh, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but we do have loaner laptops available. So if you don't have a laptop, or if you have a laptop that doesn't meet the specs, and we'll share the specs with you a little farther down in the process, we can get you a laptop to loan out for free, and you'll just send it back when you get a job. We are approaching 8 o'clock. But I think we have time for maybe one or two more. I would love to take advantage of Pat and Amanda's presence a little more. If anybody has other questions for alumni that they can talk to, it'd be fun. Gloria.
After going through the program, any tips for us?
Yeah. Do you mean tips about like how to interview for the program, or how?
No. How to manage so much information?
Yeah.
What did you do to help you absorb all of it?
That's a wonderful.
Or I'm sure it's also like an emotional roller coaster. Like, what did you do to manage that too?
For me, when I was learning along the way, just the style of learning that works for me. I wrote down a lot of notes. Even if we were provided like the chapters, all information, sometimes I would copy some of it down word for word just so it would sink in. And that was kind of how I uploaded some of that information into my brain. And then I could go back and read through it later if I wanted to. But yeah, that's just because that's the style of learning that works best for me. It is a bit of emotional roller coaster because it's intensive. It's challenging. You have probably the equivalent of, I think, an associate's degree shoved into 6 months worth of time. So there's a lot to absorb. So you can get a little bit stressed, but the great thing about that is I think Tommy mentioned their open door policy, that you could go to them, any of the instructors, and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Maybe you need to take a mental health day, and they're cool with that. Or if you needed some one-on-one time, they're also great when it comes to that as well. Plus, you rely a lot too on your other fellow students to kind of help you, work through the different problems and projects and stuff along the way. So that also helps kind of balance that out a little bit, is that that you've got somebody else who's right there with you going through this, so you're not alone. I know with doing it all online that you can feel kind of isolated a little bit, but because you got these teams that you're working with, that feels really great that you have that other person or group of people that you can reach out to, just because they are very understanding what you're going through, because that's what they're doing as well.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. All right, this is gonna be our last question. Marquise, am I saying your name right?
Yep, that's right.
Great. All right, what's your question?
So I was wondering, how long did it take you guys to find a job after finishing the cohort? And then once you did find your job, how prepared did you feel with your completion and progress in the cohort?
Yeah. Pat, you wanna go for it? You remember?
It took about 6 months, but I was in the middle of our cohort. Mine and Sarah's was in the middle of the pandemic, so And yeah, I felt very prepared. I mean, it's not just the code learning, you know, you go through these technical interview practice sessions, and they help you with your resume, and they help you with your LinkedIn profile. And it's very, I mean, I felt very prepared for the interview that I had and for the job. Now there is something called imposter syndrome that everybody goes through. You don't feel like you're good enough to do the job, but that's, you know, might be a little bit of that left, but I'm getting more and more confident. And it's not just one language either. Like somebody asked about learning something else, another language. Yeah, if you have the time to do that during the program, good for you. But you know, I've learned since I left the program, I have learned Python. I've learned yeah, I'm learning Apex right now, which is Salesforce coding language. And you know, it's, you know, the sky's the limit. Once you learn how to learn, it's, you know, and it's all based on the same premise. So, you know, it's just a, you know, there's a semicolon here, or you know, parentheses here, or you know, brackets here, but it's all the same thing. It's all solving problems with code. So
Yeah, great answer. All right, we are going to wrap this up. It is 8 o'clock. Y'all asked wonderful questions. Thank you so much. If you did not get your question answered, or if you think of a question later, you can send us an email. I will put an email address in the chat. It is info@generationwv.org. And if you pop your questions there, we will get back to you. And we will also send you an email after this session with a few links in it, and you can also respond to that. So thank you. Thank you so much. And we hope to see y'all in the interview process. Happy holidays between now and then. Yeah, Tommy, Sarah, anything else?
Wait, can I say I'm probably going to send the email tomorrow with the guidebook and everything in it. So don't panic if you don't get it tonight.
Thanks, Olivia. That's our marketing wizard, the wizard behind the curtain, Olivia, who is making all of this happen. So thank you very much, Olivia. And thank you all of you for coming. It was great to meet you. I feel like we made some new friends tonight. I love that.
And Amanda, you're a dream every time.
Yes, thank you so much to our wonderful alumni, Pat and Amanda. Appreciate you. Ryan is getting struck from my good books for not showing up, but that's okay. I'm sure something came up. It's fine.
I'm sure something wild came up. I actually can't wait to hear about it.
Probably has a great story. Okay, thank you all. It was really nice to meet you. And yeah, we can't wait to read your applications. Okay, take care. Thanks.
Bye, friends.
Thanks, everyone.
Friends.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Tommy, Sarah, Pat, Amanda, thank you. Olivia, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Olivia, I have a question for you.
Oh, I think she's gone.
Yeah, I think she's gone.
I can ask her the question. What is it? Well, let me stop recording.
I need to know if she's related to